It's like we're trying to update these laws about AI and years of big issues in our society, and it just seems bogged down by all these laws, and it's making a very hard transition to change things and develop things. Like in Austin, like I don't want to speak on this and too much, but when my resis worked on the housing bill in Austin to try to prevent like the San Francisco situation from happening here in one world and coherent prices are skyrocketing and gentrification. This is going to be really bad for anyone who's not super rich. There's so much bureaucracy, and the reason this is happening is because you need all these permits to build. It's going to take like years to build anything. It's so hard to fill that void. And housing, massive influx of people, the microcosm of the problems that are happening all over the world. Like we're dealing with laws that are like 20, 30, 40, 200 years old, and they're no longer relevant, and it's not slowing everything down and causing massive social pain. And it's also making them really sad when they see politicians talk about technology when they don't really get it. And most importantly, they lack curiosity about the topic, and the spikes of excitement are going up, and the twerks in the digital side of PC, it's very cynical. It's watch, and tech companies are trying to use all these wolves and their perspectives, and they have no curiosity involved in the comic aspect of the work recommended by the systems of the workflow. So, natural language processing, low robotics, and computer vision works, they always take the most cynical prospect of computation and technology. And we should definitely be concerned about that. Constantly worried about regulating bases and just coding slow down motivation. And I do think a huge priority right now is on doing the best you can, and bad energy surrounding the emergence of silicon and the Silicon Valley projects really irresponsible during their conferences and work calls, even just the Zoom calls. Things occur with Twitter. There's a lot of negative stuff, like outcomes, the sort of technocracy boom. That's one of the things that's happening. It's alienating people from wanting to care about the technology, and I actually think that an apology is due. The technology is some of the better, best maybe even, ways to fix a lot of our problems more easily with technology and with wizardry. Fighting the powers that be with the magic that is, and not to go too far into Star Wars or a similar fantasy scene, network, and world, if I may, for time. The darkest place in your mind is a timeline, a period of time, and a moment. You remember. It's difficult to be you, and we definitely all resemble one another. And some people die of horrible things like heroin overdoses, and it's not funny, and it's very short lived, and it's a tough issue, and it's a tough pill to swallow. Coming into adulthood, dealing with tumors and important people in your life passing, maybe. So it's a lot, and it's a lot for anyone, and it would be a lot for mistletoe. Just making me think about my own life and applying it to the finiteness of my own existence and the places that my mind can go with this whatever in the distance, far away, contemplating just my own death, maybe the death of my last brain cell, and never know. I know that in my life I cannot fathom. So I'm so scared of death. I'm too scared of it, and my Zen guys and managers always are like, you need to accept it. You need to accept it. And I can do your meditation. I can not accept death. I will fight. I'll be terrified of death, and I'll fight. So I actually think that this is important. And recently it comes to me in this shape and form about immortality. And in the process of actualizing the topic, I meet the right and bright, and I'm anti-aging. I'm stuffing it with seminars and about it, and get really excited, and whatever I get is what I got. So it doesn't matter if it's going to be 500 years ahead, 1,000. It's sort of the right mix and the right Eurasian thought of the tool of the immortality in Zen. So maybe. If not, then it's not good. You get into the labor of Dune stuff, the immortals cause a lot of problems because every time early on music brains, calcification of the pineal gland, people could become immortal, but they act like they can't. And that's a questionable statement, even in the best scenario. The power come ups and power alienating you from the common folk and shaping the more powerful in the way that the best of us would on and own and disown at times. And it's important because death is part of thinking with AI and considering that we're this new homo technologist or homo techno talk all day long to your device and socialize through it, with it, and utilize its best capabilities to advance and to your advantage, and pruning, sort of like gardening. And it's a tricky thing because if there's too much of a focus on youth culture, then you don't really have the wisdom. So you feel like it's tricky. And it's a tricky moment right now in society. We've really perfected living for a long time. And it's always really old people who are really voting against the well being of the young people.